So this is appealing because the leader is supposed to set an example for everyone else to follow. Unfortunately, in the 21st century, which is subsumed in the age of hypocrisy and quarrels, that is technically referred to as Kali Yuga. Yuga means age, and Kali means iron. In fact, the present age is not even iron age, it's plastic age. Everything is made with plastic. Even aircrafts are made with plastics. So it's not really, we are beyond the iron age. We are in plastic age. But in the plastic age, one of the major characteristics or designable characteristics is that is a society of cheats and be cheated. The typical example, the president of the United States, the current president, Donald Trump. The reason why he got into complications of being convicted of 34 felony charges was as a result of spiritual bankruptcy. How is that? He had a beautiful wife. All of you've seen President Trump's wife, isn't it? She is beautiful, okay? But you know what? She delivered a baby, very super handsome guy. In fact, that boy, each time I see him, I used to think, this should be the future president of the United States. He's handsome like the mother. Anyway, to drive home the point, this beautiful lady had this baby, delivered a baby for Trump. And because of spiritual bankruptcy, Trump went and had an affair, allegedly had an affair with a porn star, Stormy Daniels. And then, the matter came up because of these electioneering campaigns. And that led to some fraudulent activity in his company. And that, it just from one point to the other, two wrongs. Once you start a mathematical problem with the wrong formula, no matter how long you try to solve that problem, you will always get a wrong answer. The sin was committed. The corruption. By the way, you see, if you go to the etymological root of the word corruption, it's actually derived from the word corruptus, means rotten. Something is rotten, you can't, even those who eat eggs, if the egg is rotten, they can't eat the egg. They'll throw it away. It smells. So corruption basically implies polluted consciousness, pathological state of consciousness. And it could be social corruption or financial corruption. So we find in the social corruption, people cheat their wives or cheat their husbands, they cheat their spouses. Even when they have very attractive, beautiful, or handsome spouse. I remember I was in the West Coast in the United States, and we had a public program in a park. So people who came around, one of the attendees, one of the members of the audience after the program, she came to me, this beautiful lady, she came to me, and who was, sharing how she had a very attractive, handsome husband with a good job, good earning. He said, you know what, Swami? Although I have this man as my husband, I see other men and I'm attracted to. What to do? So the question is not that you have a spouse and then you are immune from social corruption. No. You could still become a victim of circumstance. Why? When there is devotional bankruptcy, social corruption crops in. And so if we don't want to get into trouble, and because majority of people are going to be leaders, like they will be teachers or work in some reputable firms, good position to lead others or team leaders, or even a political position. So people expect so much from all of us. And majority of you are pretty young and preparing a life for the future without spiritual practice is very dangerous. Super dangerous. And we can't talk of spirituality without understanding our pristine identity, who we are, and the objective criterion of human existence. And we have good literatures that delineate or gives us some exposition on the very concept of spirituality and how to cultivate spiritual practices that will help to reinvent our future for a sustainable life without getting into trouble. Now, it's not that leaders want to be corrupt. Let's be clear. Leaders have good intentions, but the good intentions alone is not enough. You have, it's like someone in the military, before they go to the war front, they have to, put in bulletproofs, helmet, bulletproof, boots, bulletproof. Why? For prevention. Now, if the soldier is leaving home and he tells the spouse, darling, see you soon, but he's going to the war front with swimming pants, how is he going to come back soon? There is a high, the probability of his coming back soon is 1 infinity. Most unlikely. Because he's not protected. So, a life devoid of spiritual practice is very dangerous. And the main cause of crimes or corruption is inability to control the mind and the sensory modalities. The senses and the mind, these elements drive us crazy. And we do things against our better judgments. Sometimes someone is indicted for a crime, prosecuted and found guilty. And then in allocutus, the judge asks, what's your last statement? We found you guilty. We're sending you to jail. What have you got to say? That's called allocutus. And then it says, I was posed by the devil. Okay. We are not seeing the devil. We're sending to jail. And this person goes on begging. I don't know the laws here, but if it's in America, if you're a false offender, the judge can't even discharge you if it is a misdemeanor. But a felony, no. It's a grave offense, a grave crime. So the pollution in our social structure is so intense, and nobody is talking about it. It's like a normal life. You can have a spouse and go cheat your wife and be proud. Go cheat your spouse and be proud of it. You can be working in a company and you defraud the company and you're thinking you're going to go get away with it. But it's so difficult to get away with fraudulent practice to the point that even the president of the most powerful country in the world couldn't get away with it. So corruption is all pervasive, but we can avoid corruption if we try to purify our mind and our senses. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna mentions, Lord Krishna just pick up of that classical literature, Bhagavad Gita. That's a conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. On a battlefield, it's not like, in a classroom like this. It was on a battlefield. How many of you have read the Bhagavad Gita? Good. Those of you who have not explored our literature, try. There are a lot of things that you need to know from the point of understanding who you are, where you're coming from, where you're going, and the ultimate purpose of human life. If you have to live on this planet, or say you're in college, and you forgot the purpose of your being on campus, you're in trouble. Because there are so many distractions on campus. There's free sex, free drugs, free many things, which are not related to the objective criterion of your being on campus. Because when you finish, your family members are going to ask you, what grade? They're not going to ask about the distractions that people normally get swayed away with. So let's understand the fundamental principle here. Crimes or even antisocial behavior are subsumed in corruption. They are all due to inability of the embodied soul to control the mind and the senses. Now, Godfreyson and Hishi, these are criminologists. They developed the general theory of crime in 1990, which stipulates that all crimes and antisocial behavior are due to low self-control. It's the same thing. It's just a matter of, semantics. They're saying the same thing, what the Vedic literature says. So, it is only in spirituality, but spiritual practices, like you've been chanting, this is a very powerful spiritual practice that could help to build your resilience and your power to be able to resist temptations. Temptations will be there. What people lack in general is how to resist the temptations. And someone who is not able to resist temptations, his or she is more or less like acting instinctively. It's an animal life. Well, we do have a responsibility if we act against our better judgment. That is the beauty of the laws of nature. And even in the criminal codes or even in the constitution of any country, there are prohibitions in terms of what to do and what not to do. So this corruption that It's all pervasive. Even here, Prince Andrew was affected by the Epstein case, Epstein files. In fact, he lost credibility. Even his own mother, pushed him out from all of his responsibilities and positions. So this is not something, thousands of years ago. We are talking about corruption that is the ripples, the effects on humans. And so would you want to become a statistics? No, we don't want to become a statistics. But what are you doing about that? Cultivate spirituality. The chanting is so powerful. It has been proven as a potent weapon for preventing all types of crimes and antisocial behavior. Because it facilitates the ability of the individual to control the mind and the senses. In fact, without control of the mind and the senses, we are so easily carried away. We are so easily driven to the brink of social disaster. So the watchword is spiritual development. And the spiritual development boils down to some strategies or some interventions like the chanting you're doing. I call it sonic therapeutic intervention. And I did some research in 2021. I had presented at the World Academy of Science, Engineering and Technology here in London on June 28th. And that paper was published. In fact, it was even given an award. The presentation received an award from the World Academy of Science, Engineering and Technology. And it was published in the International Journal of Mechanical and Industrial Engineering. You could Google that up. And that paper is basically on how spirituality helps to prevent financial fraud. The typical aspect of spirituality is the chanting that you are doing here. The chanting of this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And the title of that presentation, that paper is Sonic Therapeutic Intervention for Preventing Financial Fraud. You could Google that up. So, it's not that spirituality prevents crimes or it prevents leadership corruption. It's not a myth. It's a scientific value. It's established in scientific literature. It's not even in theological literature. It's established in scientific literature. So take your spiritual practice, take your chanting to the next level. Next level means try to have the beats, and you can do it on your own, privately, in your home, before you go to work or before you go to sleep. You do this regularly, and your life will never be the same. Dr. Lewin, a German psychologist, he developed the field theory. And the field theory basically stipulates that the environment impacts on our values and behavior. Srila Prabhupada always, the founder of ISKCON, always makes this, gives this example that if you put an iron nail in fire, the nail will gradually acquire the qualities of the fire. The fire is a field. So the type of exposition we have, the type of field that we are exposed to, matters a lot in determining our behavioral values. So we have to be, selective in terms of who we really get to hang out for a long time with, because it impacts on our values. Whether we like it or not, it affects us. So we can prevent corruption by cultivating spirituality. So we'll encourage you to do what you're doing, but be more regular, be consistent in this chanting, and you will be happy you're doing this. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Thank you so much, doing class. It was very, very interesting. I had a question in my heart about the disillusionment that comes when you are under maybe experience disappointment because of leaders in your life not doing their duty, and now you feel disillusioned. I want to ask you, how does one deal with, how can you move past disillusionment?
Yeah, it is very challenging when you trust a leader and they fail you. What you can do if that happens is that try to understand that conditioned souls, we have this deficiency of dualities. We are subject to dualities. Why? Because we are being impacted by the permutations of the three modes of nature. So it's not that the leader planned to disappoint you. He didn't plan it, or she didn't plan it. Accidents could happen. Because we are, by nature, the nature of the soul, the nature of the jiva is that it can go high, it can go low. And so if something happens, it's not that we castigate the person or, we throw them into eternal damnation in hell. Because the jiva is dualistic. It can move up, it can move down. And so we should actually see how to help such a person. Empathize with the person. I mean, it's like someone lost their loved one. So we see sometimes the leaders of society, leaders of our communities, even leaders of, our families, they do something silly, stupid. And then some people will even wish to shoot them with a gun. But no, it shouldn't be like that. We should understand that this world we live in, we are in a disease state. And so we are prone to faulties. And therefore, the only way to be able to help ourselves is to see how we are being supportive to such a person, giving them the emotional support they need to be able to forge ahead. Because leaders in general, they don't plan to fail their community, but the association, they keep matters a lot. Like for instance, if the person is a spiritual leader, if they fail to practice, they fail to have strong sadhana, because you are imbibing karmic reactions. 1/6, the leader absorbs 1/6 of the karmic reaction of the members of their community. So sometimes people don't know the implications of leadership, or people don't even know the implications of being a parent. I don't think it's nothing juicy in being a parent or being a leader, because you suffer. You get 1/6 of the reactions of all those under you if they commit anything bad. So it's suicidal. Leadership position is like deliberately, knowingly committing suicide. But people don't seem to know this. Even a parent, the same thing. A teacher, the same thing. I remember I was discussing these points in Florida, in America, in one temple. And one lady, she teaches in the Gurukul. And then that was the Sunday Feast program. After the class, she came to meet me and said she wants to go and resign. I said, no, you should go and resign. You should do your job, but try to see how you are helping people to not get involved in sinful activities or criminal activities, because you, the teacher, you are also responsible. So we should empathize with people, leaders who get into trouble. They're carrying loads, sometimes they don't know. Yeah. Yes.
Harry, I asked a question and I feel a bit ashamed because I was not there for part of your speech. Sorry for my didn't host. Ali. My name is Marine. Thank you so much for welcome and need the parole, the word. I was just curious, are you a monk? And what is your belief? And also, so I had many questions.
Yeah. Let me explain that first. Yeah. Yes, I'm a monk for the past. I'm a celibate monk, not only a monk, but a celibate monk for the past 41 years. And we believe in Krishna. Krishna means God who is all attractive. Krishna is a Sanskrit terminology. Sanskrit, there are professors of in Sanskrit in major universities, in Oxford, in Harvard, most major Ivy Leagues in America and Europe, they have professors of Sanskrit. So in Sanskrit, the word Krishna means the all attractive. So God is all attractive. Why? Because he has 6 major opulences that he has all of those opulences in 4. For instance, wealth, beauty, renunciation, power. And so that God that people talk about, in most cases, they can't even give a vivid description. The description of God is given in the Vedic literature. And so we worship God, but specifically by his primary name as Krishna.
I also had other questions.
We also believe, not only believe, we teach. We teach people about the science of reincarnation, science of karma, retributive justice, and how to build families here.
Is it okay if I just ask another question? You said, so I was baptized Catholic when I was a baby. They didn't ask me, but I think I grew up in a context like that one. And my context is more Christian. I did a long time ago, 10 years ago, the Camino de Santiago. And that's my sister of heart. Her name is Manasa. She's Hinduist, but she's very spiritual woman. And so we had a lot of talk. And I was wondering about this idea.
What idea?
About this idea of, you spoke about sin. And I'm very interested.
Crime.
Sorry?
Crime, sin, anti-social behavior.
You said sin.
Yeah.
You spoke about Epstein files. That's why I went upstairs. Because I decided I want to nourish my head with this whole bunch. But Yeah, I was wondering, maybe is it not everything perfect as it is? Like, even with, like, I'm not a huge supporter of Trump, obviously. I'm not a supporter of Marine Le Pen in France. I see extreme right everywhere coming up. But my question is, I'm very interested in this, and especially because you're a monk and you dedicate your life to these questions.
Yeah.
That is it not everything perfect as it is? Like, why do we have to fight this? Like, is it a good battle to fight? Do we have to do more internal, like, state of, like, letting go, like, I don't know, trust? I don't know.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Sorry, it was very long. Sorry.
It's okay. So here's the kicker. That in every country we have a constitution. We have also have road traffic edicts. We have criminal procedure acts and laws. People have to act and live their lives based on the laws of the land. And these laws of the land are derived from the laws of God. And so, in a nutshell, everything is not all right. That's why there are laws for people to be checked, for people to know what they are doing, whether it is wrong or right. If it's against the law, it is wrong. If it resonates or if it aligns with the laws of the land, then it's fine. So yes, everything is not okay. This is a planet where we have dualities. And so we are guided by rules and regulations. Even the scriptures, the Bible, there are 10 commandments. Why? To help to guide people to do the proper things. It's not that whatever we do is okay. No. That's the principle of yata mata tata pata. Anything goes. But anything cannot go because we are humans. In the animal kingdom, yes, anything goes. They act instinctively. They are not bound by laws. We are bound by the laws of the country. We are also bound by the laws of nature. So then we need to enlighten people about all of these principles that govern human beings so that we should know how to put our steps forward so as to be able to not get into trouble. I also come from a Christian background, and sometimes it is difficult to get answers, esoteric answers in the Bible or the Quran. So you are blessed that you are in a Christian tradition. So what is needed is for you to become more investigative in reading your scripture and also try to explore other literatures like the Vedas, like the Bhagavad Gita. It resonates with your teachings. It resonates with the biblical teachings. It's except that it is very encyclopedic. It's more detailed. And then we'll be able to have a community of human beings. Community means we are able to empathize with each other and live in unity. Without understanding who we are, it is very difficult for the principle of non-discrimination to prevail. No. Those are just laws in the books, but in practice, no. It doesn't work. I mean, it's like even crimes. There is a police system, but crime still goes on every day.
Yeah. I studied sociology and anthropology and philosophy, so maybe my academic background is a bit biased.
No, it's not biased.
But I believe that crime comes from poverty.
No, crime does not come from poverty only. Crime, we're talking about criminology. You study sociology. I quoted criminologists who developed theories on crime. There are two criminologists who developed the general theory of crime, Gottfriedson and Hitchie, in 1990. You Google that up. Gottfriedson and Hitchie, the general theory of crime. Someone can be poor and he will not be a criminal. Sociology is a good area, but it's not criminology. So you may not know most of the things that have to do with crime. Yes, it's time is up, right? All right, so we have limited time. I will hang out here for some minutes before leaving, and if someone has some questions, they could see me, all right? Again, thank you very much for coming to participate.